something. This is the last fucking meeting. This is fucking it.
It's over, and I'm so angry.
It is, and it's just, you just hate it, and it's time wasting, and you don't know what it's all about. And I went in for that meeting, and that was the one where overnight I was like, and I didn't even notice, but I walked in, he just goes like, Halloween. And I go, great movie. Are we talking in code? I don't know what you're talking about, Bob.
And this is Weinstein, right?
Weinstein, yeah, who's quite a character in his own right. And they didn't know what they wanted to do. I'm the one who proposed the remake. I think they were thinking a sequel, not making Halloween 9 or 8 or whatever the hell it was. In fact, I basically turned it down. I was like, because I kind of felt how everyone else felt, that remaking Halloween was like, like pissing in the Holy Grail or something. But I went home and I watched Halloween again and thought about it, because I'd never watched the film with that in mind. And I thought, like, well, this is a pretty thin... I mean, I think it's a brilliant movie, so whenever I discuss it, people think I'm criticizing it, but I'm not. I mean, I love the movie, and I've always loved the movie. But I thought, like, it's kind of like there's not a lot to it.
So were you wanting to do a sequel from the beginning?
The idea I pitched to Weinstein that they didn't go for was I wanted to make the first film just young Michael Myers, and maybe then do a little bit of him as an adult, and he breaks out, and that's where the movie ends. And then have maybe the second film be more of some of John Carpenter's movie. Well, I wanted to shoot them both at the same time, so that, I thought, okay, maybe, because that was the other, I'm very, thrifty with money, and every time you make a movie, you go, God, it's the setup and the breakdown, this and that's all the cost. I mean, so I thought, why don't we just shoot 2 for the price of 1? I couldn't get anyone on board with that idea. So I essentially, if you watch my remake, it's almost like 2 movies shoved to one. It's one movie that suddenly becomes another movie. But I was like, I knew I wanted to be different enough that as soon as it starts, you won't even be thinking about John Carpenter's film, because that's the only way to make it work. If you're sitting there thinking about John Carpenter's film the whole time, you're doomed.
I think it's interesting. I mean, not only is it your own movie, Halloween, but it also pays homage to the original Carpenter movie.
I was really the only one that was holding on to keeping it Michael Myers and keeping sort of the classic mask and the jump. No one else cared. They wanted to do something different, and I thought, like, oh my God, what's the point? I don't want to just take the title and make up this other thing. So I was sort of the one clinging to some of the classic moments, because I thought. But at the end of the day, I kind of go back and feel that my decision to do that was wrong, because I felt like when I made it totally different was when it worked the best. So, maybe, you never know. Can't make anybody happy. That seems to be the key.
Yeah, man, it's hard to win on an original film. The fans are going to bitch if you do it one way, and they're going to bitch if you do it another way. It's impossible to make everybody happy.
That's so true, because that was the one thing, I remember with Devil's Rejects, when it was done. House of a Thousand Corpses was a fucking mess, so I never knew how I felt, but Rejects, I felt like, when it was done, me and the editor, I was like, I love this movie. I don't care what anyone says. I love it. Nothing's going to change my opinion. Because that was the only movie I ever was 100% free to do whatever I wanted. Whereas the Halloween process was not that.
So then it came time for the sequel. Then Along Comes H2, that I heard you were totally against and did not want to do it. But there were a lot of management changes and people involved, and talk about that.
H2 was, when I finished Halloween, I said to Weinstein, I go, don't even bring it up, not doing another fucking Halloween movie, don't even mention it. And I thought I was doing this other movie called Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's what I had been working on for a year, and I was all excited to do that movie. I thought it was like the perfect kind of next move. And then when that was all said and done, I handed in the script, they just were like, oh my God, this movie is going to cost a fortune to make. We don't want to make this. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. But anyway, that became a problem. But I still didn't want to do Halloween 2. And then I started feeling protective of it, because I started hearing what other people might be going to do with the characters. And I was like, wait a minute, that's my Dr. Loomis. That's my Laurie Strode. I get all like, I don't want anyone fucking with my world. And that's when I was like, but I thought the ship had sailed. I thought, they're in production. It's a done deal, and it's too late. I blew it. And I ran into Matt Stein from the Weinstein Company, and I said, how's Halloween 2 going? And he's like, it's not going. I thought they were shooting, and they didn't even have a script yet. I said, well, I'll do it if it's still there to be done. And I swear to God, the next day, I was on the phone with Weinstein, and he's like, I need this thing by August. And we were like, oh my God. From the moment it was greenlit to the moment it was in theaters, it was 7 months.
Wow, so you wrote it.
Yeah, and I didn't have a clue as to what I was going to do with it. And I thought, you know what? Michael Myers has pretty much done everything Michael Myers can do. Let's just go nuts. Then I like the idea of, instead of making Dr. Loomis, because I had started writing with Dr. Loomis being like, still the avenging, a doctor. He's not going to run around with a magnum shooting people. It just seemed so silly. And it didn't seem silly when I would watch the movies. But when I was writing, I was like, this is following the police around with a gun. Then I decided, we'll just make him like Dr. Phil, this sort of like, sort of like phony sort of like doctor for hire. I had seen something, it was the anniversary of something, I had seen Vincent Bugliosi on TV still talking about Manson. And I thought, that would be Dr. Loomis. It would be like Bugliosi might as well be married to Charles Manson. It's like however many years later, 40 years later, and they're still like, you can't think of one without the other. And I thought that would be the reality of this. And I sort of tried to play off that idea. And then I had the problem of, I have a lead character who doesn't show his face. Most of the time he doesn't talk, doesn't do much of anything. So that's when I came up with the idea of him seeing himself and his mother. Because I thought, I always figured that Michael Myers was sort of had arrested development, was sort of stuck at 10 years old in his own mind. That's how he would act. And I was off and running with a bunch of madness.
Yeah, you have to bring something new to the movie concept. You can't just be doing the same old crap over and over again. But Halloween 2 didn't do quite as well as Halloween 1 did in the box office. But for what you paid for it, it did pretty good.
It was funny because the movie did great. It's just always got this stigma that it's like, sorry, it did so bad. I'm like, we made that movie for nothing and it still did like $40 million. I remember talking to Bob Weinstein. I hadn't even written the script yet. He goes, this movie's going to do $40 million. But I felt like sometimes that becomes self-fulfilling. We know we're not even going to attempt because they didn't promote it that much. I didn't think. It wasn't like before. They kind of promoted it exactly to the number that he had predicted. But that was the case with both. Both these movies combined for what we spent on them made them a fortune.
Now, here's my question. As a person who is just getting into script writing, movie production, hopefully eventually on down the road, what's your process when you're planning a movie? Do you do storyboards? Do you plan everything out? Do you shot list? Which, for those of you out there that don't know what a shot list is, it's basically a very small, minute plan of the entire movie. But anyway, so how prepared are you whenever you start a movie?
I'm super prepared in the sense that I can usually see the movie finished, but I've done storyboards, but I've never used them because I can't. I don't even bring them to set. I look at these pictures and go, what am I going to do with this? But what I like about doing storyboards sometimes is, if you're the storyboard artist, I have to explain it in such explicit detail to you to board it, that by the time I've done that, I don't even need the boards by the time you draw them, because my explanation is cleared up in my mind. And even, this was a funny situation I got into on Halloween. Before I had my deal done for Halloween, I had already written the script, but I didn't want them to know that. So then I had to go back and write a treatment.
Based on your script?
Yeah, I was like, this is really hard. I already finished the script, so I was like, because I could see it, so I just did it, and I didn't want to sit around and wait for them to greenlight it, because I knew they were gonna. I could just tell it was gonna happen. But
what's your method of writing? Someone like me, man, I just start from page 1 and I just write. I don't plan anything out. I just sit down, boom, and just write.
I just start page 1 and go through it, and sometimes I'll just I do all the things that they say you're not supposed to do, but I figure it doesn't matter. I'll really polish Act 1 before I ever get to Act 2, because for me, it's like you're creating these people that don't exist, and I don't know them enough yet. And I have to keep going over until I go, okay, now I understand this character enough that I know that this Laurie Strode is going to go to this place next, or whatever, because it's so hard. They go, just plow through your rough draft, and I can't. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
What about the casting process? I know a lot of your films feature a lot of names from different genres, and there's a lot of that appreciation of the past of a film that's very much with the present.
I basically just always cast people that I've always liked that I wanted to work with. And the only time I've really done casting is when I have to cast somebody young. But the other time I already know who I want for everything. I'll just have a list like, call William Forsythe, call Jeffrey Lewis, call PJ. I know who I want, and then, hopefully they're all always available.
And what about working with the actors? Do you rehearse on the set? Do you talk it out beforehand? Or do you hire actors you trust and rely on them?
A little of everything. To me, that's the main thing, is the actors. Because, you can have a beautiful shot in it, but if the actor's not giving you anything, who cares? So I love the actors. That's the main thing that I love. So we spend a lot of time. I would rather waste all day rehearsing and knowing what we're going to do and then shoot it than, yeah. So, yeah, no, that's the main thing with me working with everybody. And what's nice is what I try to do with, let's say, Halloween 2 is by that point, on Halloween, I didn't know Malcolm McDowell. So once I got to know him and know how he is, I basically rewrote Dr. Loomis in the sequel as Malcolm McDowell. And it makes it much easier because then I know he can just take that to a whole crazy place.
So, Rob, you've been so successful in so many different types of media, music, film, online. You even were an animation director when you did the Haunted World of Super Beasto, which was freaking hilarious, by the way. Would you consider ever doing any other type of media, such as paintings or art galleries, anything like that?
I mean, I paint all the time, and people are like, oh, you have to have a show, but I never do. I just never get it together. Because what I like about painting is there's very few things in my life that haven't become, like, legit. And once it's legit, and there's people waiting, and there's money, and there's budgets, painting is still the one thing I can just do, and it doesn't matter. But I'm afraid it's like once there's a show planned, and there's this and that, then it becomes ruined.
So do you think that you would ever like to work outside the horror genre?
I would love to. I mean, I love horror movies, obviously, but I don't like feeling like I'm trapped in something.
Okay, I got a good idea for you. Why don't you make some whacked out, crazy, psycho circus, satanic western with like Clint Eastwood in it, one less bash before he died?
Yeah, I would love to make a western. I mean, that is, to me, in a way, Devil's Rejects was me making a western.
Do you still feel as drawn to music now that you're pretty much kicking ass and taking names in the film industry?
It's kind of funny. The two really work well together. Sometimes the only problem with the two is just time. Just the time to do both properly. But I pretty much make a movie, make a record, make it kind of alternate. Because what's great is, once you've made a record and you're on tour, which is a blast and I love it, by the end of that cycle, you're like, man, done in. And it's the same feeling with the movie. Like once you're, weeks after weeks after weeks in an editing room with one other guy, like I would really like to get out on the road and see some wide open spaces as much as I like sitting in a dark room. So they both balance each other great. One really, and as far as just from a fan point of view, it's great because one really helps fire up the other. And
Rob, I'm getting the cutthroat. It's about time. Our time's up. So, but hey, I want to thank you for being on the show, and hey, good luck, and we'll hopefully see each other on down the road.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you, Rob. I really appreciate it. Later, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. KTKM 101, The Irish Mike Show. See you next week.